Hello to my friends on YouTube. If you've been watching these at all regularly, you know that it takes a couple moments for people from TikTok to show up, although it isn't as much as it once was, thankfully. I used to have to wait like 3, 4 minutes for people to show up. And thankfully, now that's much quicker. Hello, EB. Hello, Nawaf. Hello, Butchie. Welcome. Hello, Anagram New. Hello, Bree. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be on this fine planet of ours. My name is Josh, and I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also, that's right, 24 years I was a porn addict. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for nearly 11 years. It'll be 11 years in March. And I am relapse free the entire time. I entered this field around 8 years ago as a writer and as a presenter. During the pandemic, I switched gears and I became a full-time accredited pornography addiction coach, a betrayal trauma coach, and a therapeutic disclosure specialist. That means that I can help pornography addicts get better, I can help their partners suffering from trauma get better, and I can help work with the relationship as a whole. I am trained mainly in communication skills, especially dealing with trust. So if anybody is here, and I can get far more into either my personal experience or my experience with clients as a coach. I have coached probably 400 porn addicts, probably 250 people with betrayal trauma, probably 100 couples. I have a lot of history behind me here with this now. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you need any opinions, if you want to share your story, whether it is a victory or whether you are in the middle of watching your relationship or your life fall apart, we are here for your support. We are here to help you. You just need to participate in the conversation. And I will also let you know that this is a very safe place. Anytime somebody says something really stupid, we will get rid of them. We will ban them so they can never come back here because I want this to be a safe place for people. Hey, Tiny, good to see you. Glad you've joined. The one thing I'm going to ask you all to do early on, you're here in the first couple minutes of this. I'm going to ask you to tap up some likes if you wouldn't mind. Just tap the screen a few times. What that does is that increases our like count. People see that. It also helps the algorithm to push this towards the FYP, to push this towards the suggested lives. So if you wouldn't mind just tapping the screen a few times, I would very much appreciate that. And I'm sure that the people who need some help and will be introduced for the first time today appreciate it. I'm doing quite well, Tiny. I started my day horribly. I was supposed to bring my son to the airport, and I was supposed to wake up at 5 a.m., and I accidentally set my alarm for 5 in the afternoon, not 5 in the morning. So he missed his flight today, but that's okay. We booked it for tomorrow, and hey, I get to spend one more day with him, so I guess not all is lost. But yeah, that's one of those things in the past, something as massive as missing, or something even massive or minor, however you look at it, as missing a flight would be the kind of thing that sets me off, that makes me go use, because I have to pay a change fee. He's going to be late getting back to school a day. It's frustrating, but that's what life is. And that's what we have to do as addicts, is learn to deal with life on life's terms. That's part of the problem that we have as addicts, is that we found a hack so we don't have to deal with our problems in a healthy way. If this was, 15 years ago when this happened, I would have, come home and I would have probably, even if it was 7 in the morning, cracked a beer and started looking at porn because it was the only way that I would be able to cope. Frustrating, but that's who I used to be. And if you're that person today, I can help you get to a happier place. What happened to me today? Today it was frustrating, but I realized there's nothing I can do. We missed the plane. The alarm went off at the wrong time. I have to pay for a change fee. We have to put them on a plane tomorrow. There's no way around that. There's no reason to get pissed off. Thank you for the roses, Michael. There's no reason to get pissed off at something I can't control. This is life handing me a problem, and the way to solve that problem is to just book him on the flight the next day. Not to go home and use porn, because here's the thing. If I came home and used porn, if I came home and drank, once I was done looking at the porn, once I was done satisfying myself, once I allowed myself to get drunk, what really would I have accomplished? All I would feel at that point is shame. All I would feel is that I really didn't accomplish anything. In fact, all I did was I kicked the can down the road. That's what a lot of people who are porn addicts, talk to me about, is that using porn, it's a distraction, it's an escape, but all of your problems are still exactly the same when you're finished. And if you don't have the skills to solve them, that's challenging. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please keep tapping up the likes. If I say anything you really think is great, please share this. That always helps in the algorithm. If you're not following me, please do. And obviously, if you have questions, comments, anything like that, please include them. I will get to them. I try to spend time with everybody's comment who deserves it. Financial Mogul, hey coach, how are you? Well, like I was just describing, I had a setback today with not getting my son on a plane, but you know what? I'm healthy. I'm happy. I get to spend another day with my kid. It's a weekend. I have connected with a couple friends I haven't talked to in a while already today. I'm going to sneeze too. So overall, it's a good day. Any day I'm not using porn, any day I'm not drinking, any day I'm facing the world with the tools I have is a good day. Thank you for asking. Hey, Sauce Boss, thank you for following me. Appreciate that very much. Ooh, says Tiny, that can happen to the best of us. Yeah, it's one of these things that we make mistakes. I don't know if you've been here when I talked about it at all, but back in September, this is a very nice version of what it was. I crushed 2 of my fingers in a garage door. Whose fault was that? This guy. We make mistakes in life, and you need to be able to have some grace for yourself. Yeah, I felt stupid this morning. You get through it. You get through it. You move on. You fix the mistake, and this mistake will be fixed within 24 hours, and you move on with your life. Hi, Mikhail. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Haven't got the chance to check out your content yet, says Financial Mogul. Well, time is ticking. The 19th is coming soon here in America, and boy, I hope they don't do anything with TikTok. That's going to be such a pain in my ass having to rebuild this. Can you take a demographic map and overlay a crime map for fun, please? Do you mean... I guess I'm curious what you mean by that, Tim. Demographic of what? And what kind of crime? I suppose they can be matched up, and I always love these kinds of correlation maps. So if you can tell me exactly more what you're looking for, I'd love to go do that. Shitted my pants. That's a fun name. Did you watch it like you would watch TV or movies? I watch it for just one purpose. No, I didn't watch it like I'd watch TV or movies because the acting is terrible. And there are no stories, especially in porn these days. An 8-minute clip on the hub is not going to give you any story. But I also was not a guy who really liked big budget porn, like out of studios and stuff. No. It's like saying, did you watch it like you would listen to the radio? No, it was its own individual thing. it didn't even serve any real, especially, once after, 5 or 6 years, it didn't serve any sexual gratification purposes. It was all about getting the chemicals in my head. That's what we're addicted to as porn addicts. We're addicted to those chemicals. Yes, we like to see people do their thing, but most addicts, especially if you've been an addict a long time, you don't care anymore. You don't care if you see another set of boobs. You don't care if you see people go at it. You don't care if you see a penis or a vagina or a butt. It doesn't matter anymore because you're just there to get that high. Probably from years 10 to 24 that I was an addict, it had nothing to do with what was on the screen. It was just the only way I knew to get there. Just the only way I knew to get there. And if you find yourself kind of feeling this way too, you can get help. Are you talking about hardcore pornography? I like that. I'm talking about all, because really it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's one thing that, we all know pornography is that stuff with 3 X's and people smashing their genitals together. But really, if you're looking at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue and it's doing just as much for you as videos on the hub, can you say you don't have a porn problem? What do you have, a bikini problem? It is all the same thing. A lot of having a porn addiction is how you use the material. That may itself not be porn. It may not fit the definition of porn, but if you're using it like people use porn, it might as well be. All right. First off, please allow me to, let me first say, Chris creating his own suffering. Stop gooning 2025. That's a good idea because that is crazy unhealthy if you're an addict. I kind of want to drink though. Try not to. It's poison. It's not going to help anything in your system. Do not drink if you can help it. I'm sorry, wise man. I'm going to go take a shot. Oh, well, I tried. CJ, how are you? Certified trauma and behavioral coach. What are your credentials? For the pornography addiction, I took the continuing education credits courses given to therapists in this area of the country. I'm obviously not a therapist myself because I didn't go through, all that first training, nor do I really want to be a therapist. Because if I was a therapist here where I live, I could not be a therapist through telehealth because of the way licensing works. So I didn't want to go down the therapist route. I wanted to go down the coaching route. And then as far as the betrayal trauma, I took a course and interned with the Post-Betrayal Trauma Institute out of New York. And then with the disclosure piece, I took some courses with them and I found some additional ones online. Yeah, it's all about me. He's been through it. Good enough for me. Thanks, Lee. I appreciate that, but I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with anybody questioning my credentials. People should question my credentials. 100%. You don't want to just go into this with somebody who's never worked with anybody. You don't want to go into this with somebody who's never had these issues before. So yeah, I don't have any problem with people asking about it. The first, before I became a coach, as many of you know, I was an author and a presenter, spoke at a lot of colleges, churches, libraries, that kind of stuff. That's how I made my money. It wasn't until the pandemic that I actually became a coach because I couldn't make any money on my speaking engagements anymore. And books are great, but they just don't make you very much money. I mean, it's nice that I haven't written a book in, I think, 4 years now, and I still get a few $100s a month from Amazon for my royalties, and I get a little bit more than that from my publisher for one of my books. But yeah, absolutely. I think that people should learn who they're talking to. Aside from my experience, I have a ton of research when I wrote those books. And now for the last 5 years, I've been dealing with people one-on-one. So, I encourage people to try it out with me. If you want to try a session, go to the front page of my profile. Up in the links, there's a link that says Calendly. You can book with me through that. and see if we work well together. And if that's not your bag, that's fine. I just hope the education here is helping you. I hope that the conversations here make you think about what you're doing, give you some ideas. So thank you for bringing that up, CJ. I think that is important to mention every once in a while. What's going on here. So thank you very much. How's it going, Coach? Very good, Mr. Smoothie Buns. Good to see you. Hope you've had a great weekend. I admire what you do, brother. Thank you, Lee. That means a lot. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate that. I'm out of the house playing Magic at a card shop with my buddy. Excellent. And his girlfriend. Excellent. Hope all is well. Just checking in, letting you know what's up. Great. I am proud of you. I am very proud of you for leaving the house, walking away from the video games, walking away from the porn, and going up and do something else. Really, libraries and schools? I have my husband who is PhD, cybersecurity and national board. Please, we protect the public. State your license and background reported. That's fine. I stated it for you. I don't know what more you're going for, but if you don't find that I'm giving good advice, I would say start up your own page. Hey, I got too much play. Any tips on getting less? Yeah, no, I've never had too much play if you're talking about real people. My boyfriend cheated about a year ago, and I decided to try and move on with him. Yet he keeps making jokes about the subject of cheating. Well, a lot of times people who do bad things like to say just a little bit of it. A lot of people give just a little bit of truth in their lies because it's easier to stick to a lie when there's some part of truth in it. And I would ask, why would you make jokes about the subject of cheating? Whether you do it or not, especially if you've done it before, why would you make jokes about it? Why would you make jokes about it? I would be a little bit leery there. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please, please, please keep tapping up the likes. I would appreciate that very much. And anything that you can do, whether you need to follow me, whether you need to share, that would be absolutely awesome. I would appreciate that. And yeah, be leery, Christy. The face you don't answer shows a lot of. The face you don't answer shows a lot of. I don't know what that means, Reed. You may have written a statement that didn't come through either before or after, but because of how TikTok bans things, but that's fine. How to constantly stop relapsing after 3 or 4 days. Well, the way that you would do that is first, number one, I don't know if that's truly relapsing if it's only 3 days. If you're using 2 or 3 times a week, then is that really stopping and relapsing? What I would say is, what happens on that day? What happens on that day that you do relapse? How is that day different than day 1 or 2 or 3 where you are capable of not using? What makes day 4 or day 5 different? Can you take this one day at a time? Great. Day 1 was great. Day 2 was great. Day 3 was great. What is different about day 4? Why can't you use the same techniques you used on the first 3 days on day 4? Or are you telling yourself a story that I can only go 3 days? And if you tell yourself that story and you believe that story, you will only be able to go 3 days. Lee Evans, just ignore her, dude. Yeah, no, I mean, people like to, especially therapists, like to wave their diplomas and shit around. And, she doesn't want me to help people. So how good of a therapist must she be? And yeah, Lee, that's what we do. We just ignore pests and they go away. Gamble up to date. Why has my addiction got weirder? Like in what corn I want to watch? That's a great question, and there's a perfect answer. All addiction escalates. All addiction escalates. What? Because you're going after the chemicals in the brain, basically, with whatever addiction you have. So what you got to look at is, consider this like somebody who's an alcoholic. We see this a lot, where people talk about building their tolerance. Building their tolerance is a way of saying that your body doesn't react to the amount of stimulant you once gave it. Whether that stimulant is alcohol, whether that stimulant is some kind of drug, whether that stimulant is porn or food or video games, it doesn't really matter. To get the same good feeling, to get the same high you got in the past, what you need to do is to use more. The guy who needs 3 beers eventually needs more. You know, when I started drinking at 14 years old, 2 beers got me buzzed. By the end of high school, I needed a 6-pack. By the time I was, 25, I needed a case. By the time I was 30, I had to stop drinking beer because it couldn't get me drunk. Same thing with people who gamble. A $20 bet becomes 50, becomes 100. And with pornography, what seems like very vanilla stuff, over time, it doesn't cause the same reaction in the brain. So you need to make the stuff more hardcore, more exotic, more out there, whatever it is, because you need to create, that chemical reaction. And what once didn't doesn't do it anymore. That's one thing that people who are not addicts don't seem to understand, is that people who are using are not going for a new all-time high. They're just trying to get that first high. But what gave them that first high, that intoxicated feeling in the brain, that escape feeling, it takes more in the future. So please keep tapping up the likes. We're not even at 1,000 yet. That blows my mind. Please keep tapping up the likes. I appreciate it. I've told him the jokes only prolong my healing process, but he says, but I'm only joking. It shouldn't be a big deal. Well, it should be a big deal, and it shouldn't even matter what the issue is. If he made jokes about the way you used to lisp in high school, or the fact you used to have a limp in high school, or if he makes fun of some food you like, or something like that, that's just being mean, that's not a good partner. If you're only joking, stop it. That's what you need to say next. If you're only joking, stop it. You don't get to decide what's a big deal to me. I decide what's a big deal to me. You making jokes about this is a big deal to me. And you need to stop, or I am going to think about other alternatives to this relationship. I don't want to be with somebody who constantly makes jokes about cheating with me. That's not even funny. So cut the shit or move on. That's what I would say, Christy. The face you don't answer shows a lot of, no, it is showing up. Help. The difference is me and my girl argue. Still having trouble understanding what you're saying, Reed. Having trouble understanding what you're saying, but I'm here if you want to try rewriting it. Thank you for those of you tapping up the likes. Very appreciated. Why has the corn I indulge in gotten strange over time and normal corn doesn't hit the same? Like I just said, it totally has to do with the fact that over time, you basically fry your pleasure receptors. You need to go deeper and deeper. You need to have more and more to get the same effect you did in the past. Lee says, turn off your phone and read a book. I'm telling you, I'll turning the phone off will solve most of it. Well, it'll solve not using, but it will not solve the question of why did you become a porn addict in the first place. That's a very important piece. That's a very important piece. I'm telling you all, the most powerful thing I've ever done to stop corn was just turning off the phone. That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I hope other people do listen to you and at least try it. Because even if that isn't the thing that works for them, you've got to keep trying stuff until you find something that does work. Said as I sip on a whiskey. Hey, that's okay, Andy. That's okay, Andy. Don't let it turn into a problem. Don't become an alcoholic. Most people don't. Most people don't become porn addicts. But there are groups of us who can't handle our use of certain things. So just, pay attention. Corn is worse than alcohol. Really depends who you are. Someone who's an alcoholic with no corn problem probably would disagree with you. I, who had both, would say that it depends on the situation, which one is worse. Forrest, thank you for following me. Appreciate that. Christy, thanks for the endless help. That's why I'm here, my friend. That's why I'm here, my friend. At least I got to share alcohol with the wife. This is true, but is that just bringing someone else down? Enzo asks, why is corn bad? Because if you're an addict, that can lead to relationship issues. That can lead to performance issues. Obviously, being an addict is not a good thing because it changes your brain's chemistry and kind of wires you to needing porn all the time. And then just on top of that, porn for the youngest generations is kind of like sex ed out there. And those of us who have been in healthy, normal sexual relationships know that pornography is fiction. Pornography is not like a documentary. Pornography is not a reality show. But a lot of people growing up see it. What 5-year age group consumes the most porn? 12 to 17. 12 to 17. That's what we need to be worried about. That's what we need to be worried about. There's really nothing positive about it. My dude started watching The Office before bed. Thanks for the advice. Awesome, Christine. I'm pleased to hear that. I'm really pleased to hear that because sometimes it's as easy as changing your routines. Sometimes it's as easy as changing your routines. There are times where I'm sitting working with clients, working with couples, and they've got problems with their life. And sometimes it's a pretty easy switch, but a pretty easy move into something else, but they didn't see it. For instance, I was talking to a couple earlier this week that was talking about how much stress between the couple, the husband and the wife happens when they have to get the kids ready for church on Sunday because they have a lot of kids, and that's when they start to bicker, and that can ruin their Sunday. So we talked about what else can you do, and just as a simple thing like getting the kids' clothes ready the Saturday night before is a huge deal. That will save them so much. And they're like, oh my God, why did 6 years, we've never thought of that. Sometimes you just need some outside perspective. Because if you're in the middle of the hurricane, a lot of people are like, yeah, everything's okay. Well, it feels like everything is okay when you're in the eye of the hurricane because it's calm. But the reality is the eye of a hurricane is a very deceptive place. While it feels calm, you are in the middle of a storm. And sometimes you don't realize it. So. Young OG 300, what books or steps I need to take to stop? Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out your motivation. Why must you quit? Why do you need to quit? There is no book, there is no direction, there is nothing out there that is going to make you stop other than yourself. So what is going to make you stop? There's the first piece of this. What will make you stop? What is more important than the porn? Is it a relationship? Is it a potential relationship? Is it fear for your health? Do you just feel gross doing it? Are you doing it in places you don't want to get caught, but you can't stop? Why do you need to quit? Why must you quit? What will porn take from you if you don't quit? That's the number one thing that you need to figure out. And then after that, you can go further on steps. Would you agree that any addiction is just from a lack of fulfillment? No. No, I believe that most addictions are actually a symptom of trauma. Something happens early in life, you don't have the skills to deal with it. So you find another way to deal with it. For most people don't plan on being addicts, of course. What happens is they start in with a behavior or a substance, and along the way, it registers, hey, I feel a lot better. You want to see something cute? This is a kitten that I'm fostering. Um, Most of the time, people are addicts before they realize they're addicts. And that's because their brain has actually changed. It has changed to need the chemicals that are produced by their addiction. So, no, I don't believe it's just a lack of fulfillment. I believe that it is mainly from trauma, and addiction is a symptom of that trauma. You begin to use porn or gamble or use other substances because you can't deal with real life. You don't have, more so, you don't have the skills to deal with real life. So you escape to this fantasy land. You escape to this place where you feel like you have control and power. You escape to this place where it's the only place you know you can feel good. You may not understand the chemistry going on in your brain, but you recognize this stuff makes you feel good. So I would say that is the reason for addiction, Enzo. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I've been addicted since I was 8, but God saved me. That's great. I'm happy about that. Just make sure that you do have everything covered. Make sure you know why you became a porn addict. Make sure that the trauma is taken care of. It's great to have a spiritual core, a spiritual foundation, but you cannot just pray away medical issues. If you could, nobody would get sick. If you could, nobody would have cancer. If you could, no babies would die. Joe Mama says, why am I into the moms? Probably has something to do with your upbringing. I would have to have a longer conversation with you. But, so many people, almost everybody has some kind of preferences. And if that's yours, there's a reason behind it. But I don't usually let kinks or fetishes get in the way of my helping clients, because, okay, you like this, somebody else likes this. You both are using for the same reasons. That's what's important. You notice here, for instance, Joe, that this conversation is not R-rated. This conversation is not X-rated. It's PG-13 rated at most. We don't have to talk about the content of pornography to still talk about the problems around it. Why are you into that? Probably some legit reasons, but it probably doesn't have very much to do with the content itself. Callum, hi. Please allow me to take a sip of my beverage, Celsius. What to do when you're alone with nothing to do and get a massive thought and urge? Well, Callum, I would ask, where are you when this happens? Are you in a dungeon where you cannot get out of? I'm going to guess that you just make an excuse that there's nothing to do. Have you thought about taking a walk? Well, if you can't because you're in a wheelchair, take a ride. Have you thought about watching TV? If you can't because you're blind, listen to music. My point is that there's a million things to do in this world. Go for a walk, play some music, watch TV, go visit grandma, go see a friend, learn how to play trombone, read a book, learn how to make an origami swan. There's a million things to do in this world, Callum. When you are bored and you get a massive thought, that's your sign to go do something else. That's your sign to get away from your phone or your laptop. That's the sign to go outside. That's the sign to be around people. If you're around people, you're not going to touch, you're not going to look, hopefully. So yeah, I would say that you are telling yourself the story that there is nothing to do, and that allows you to use porn more guilt-free. Well, if there was something to do, I would go do it, but there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do, so I guess I have to use porn. Is that kind of how the conversation goes, Callum? If you have, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, write a story. You can always find something else to do. I promise you. You can always find something else to do. Enzo says, so you can figure out that's their way of fulfilling it. But I guess that's like saying people who are hungry. You're only hungry, so you can fulfill your urge for food. I think that you are simplifying it a little too much. Andy Rogue. My boy is 12, checked his phone last night. It's clean. Good for you, Andy. More importantly, are you having conversations about this? Are you having conversations about his consumption of pornography? That's what's important. And keep in mind, having conversations about pornography consumption or being aware of what's out there, this is an addiction conversation. This is not the birds and the bees. I mean, being 12, he already knows all about that. But this is not the birds and the bees speech. This is a be careful of this stuff out there that is unhealthy for you. It's like the speech of why you don't drink at 12, why you don't smoke cigarettes at 12. And he's got a clean phone, so that's good. You probably can take a few more steps to try to make him a little bit more porn-proof. You're never going to porn-proof him. It's not a matter of if he's going to see, it's a matter of when. But if you give him the tools now, when that happens, he'll be able to handle it. I'm 2 days clean and I just pray about it. I hope it helps me to stop. I hope so too, Sticks. But what else are you doing besides praying? What else are you doing besides praying? Because most people, and I don't want to slam everybody here if you're religious, I find that most people who pray, what they're really praying for is God to somehow suspend the laws of the universe for them. Please don't let this person die. Okay, so you don't want the natural process of dying to happen to them. You want God to intervene. Are you asking for just something from God, or are you finding comfort in prayer? Because when I deal with people, and I'm not religious and I'm a bit spiritual, but what I find when I talk to religious people, and honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim or a Jew or, Shinto or anything else out there. And I've dealt with people who are a million different religions. What I find is you have two kinds. The kind who want something from it and the kind who want support and just a foundation to lean on. And those people who use it just for support and a foundation to lean on tend to do a lot better. So how long were you a gooner before you gave it up? Well, Enzo, I haven't used in 11 years. And back then, there was no TikTok. There was no OnlyFans. There was nothing like gooning. There was nothing like edging. It's just the way that it was way back when. And I, as for what gooners are today, I never watched it that way. Lee Evans, thank you for following me. I got exposed to it as a kid, says Sticks. So many of us have been. That's the story for so many of us. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee. Have a great day. Have a great day. Josh, where do you go if TT goes away? Yep, that's a great question. I actually made a video like 2 days ago, if you want to go back and find it, about where I'd be going. I am going to do my live, if this goes away. And we're not sure if it's going to. We're not sure if it's just it won't be available on app stores in the US anymore. There's talk about just getting, VPNs to, set your VPN to another country and you'll still be able to use this. Obviously, that would be something I try. But I would be doing lives if TT fully goes away, I'd be doing my lives on YouTube. I also have pages on Blue Sky. I have a page on Clapper. I have my website at thatcorncoach.com. Blue Sky is a lot like Twitter, and Clapper is a lot like TikTok. And then, like I said, there's the YouTube where I will try to do my lives. Again, check out that video from the other day. You should subscribe to me even if this doesn't go away, just to be safe, just to have things already. Even if it's just bookmarking That Corn Coach, because the day that things do go away, that front page will tell you just how to get in touch with me. You're so right about the excuses. Love you, gotta go. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you following me. Look forward to getting to know you more in the future. What are the worst side effects of porn addiction? Depends who you are. I mean, for men, I don't think it gets much worse than erectile dysfunction. But of course, there's also shame, and that comes, with embarrassment, with a sense of feeling, bad about yourself. That happens to both men and women who are addicts. What we see with a lot of younger people is that their attitudes towards sexuality are very unhealthy, that they view people as more like objects than people. They view sexuality very differently because they grew up watching this stuff. There's a lot of bad to this. There's a lot of bad to this. You don't want to talk side effects. It ruins a lot of relationships. It for a lot of guys and girls, if they are an addict, they don't want to get in a relationship until they get better. It does a lot. It does a lot against people. Do you support legislature banning or age restriction verifying software on porn? I do not support banning of anything that isn't already banned. I mean, there's stuff with children, stuff with animals, stuff, with severe violence, that should all be illegal already, and it is. I don't think that banning porn would really do much in this world, because you have to define porn. And the Supreme Court took up years ago that they didn't want to define porn. They will only define obscenity. And it's very hard to meet that standard. So I think that's a freaking waste of time. We couldn't ban alcohol 100 years ago. How are we going to ban porn today? We're not. So I think what we need to do is develop those age filters. And we need to make that a necessary thing. So yeah, absolutely. I don't support legislatures banning porn, because I don't think they can on a technical level. But I do think that enforcing age verifying software is fine. You show your ID if you're under 17 when you go see an R-rated movie. You show your ID if you're, when you're 21 and you want to buy beer. We have this in life. It's okay. We should have these age restrictions. Hey, Ash Tinks, where did you say you may do lives? TikTok. Oh, no, sorry. That's where I do them now. YouTube. And I might try to arrange it so I can have a couple places going simultaneously. I still will need to do a deeper dive into the what's available out there. But like I said, if you bookmark thatcorncoach.com, my website isn't going anywhere. When things, and maybe I'll update this tomorrow anyway, but if things change, I'm going to have all the information on my website, That Corn Coach, and you can always follow me on the other places. You can always, send me a message. But please follow me and check out the video I made a couple days ago that talks about where I will be going if something happens here, because we still don't know what's really going to happen here. That's part of it. Please tap up the likes. Please tap tappity tap up the likes. Can you imagine how? I can't imagine TikTok's going away. There's just too much money there. There's just too much damn money there. And the argument that the Chinese can shape our opinions. The Chinese owns part of the U.S. Treasury. The Chinese after Bill Gates are the number one holder of real estate in the United States, including owning most of Times Square in New York. I don't think TikTok is going to be the problem. Daniel Holth, 2 weeks clean. That's awesome, my friend. That brings us back to the beginning of the year. That is great. I hope that you're recognizing what you're doing right. I hope you're recognizing what is working for you. And I hope as you start to heal, you will consider why you became this way. You will consider what happened to make you a porn addict. Because that's usually what you need to deal with. You know, it's trauma. It's trauma. And trauma doesn't need to be this big, scary, going to the mental institution word. Trauma is simply pain that the body holds on to. You know, if you're a little kid and your mom or dad dies, it's going to be traumatic for you. You're going to have to spend time to let that trauma, process. And if you don't, if you just don't address it, if you just push it down, I have so many people who are like, when I have a bad emotion, I just push it down. I just push it down. That's how we make trauma. Because we don't deal with our emotions. We don't deal with the pain. We don't figure out a healthy way to cope with the pain and to let the pain loose. So we hold on to pain sometimes for decades. Because you're holding on to this pain for decades, you've developed this addiction that when you deal with something in life that is painful, that is difficult, that is stressful, that causes anxiety, that does cause fear, you go back and use this stuff. Because way back when you first started, that's why you started. Brush the teeth. Don't know what you're talking about there. Thank you for the thumbs up, Dang Fricker. Josh asks, why is it bad? Because it will mentally and it will physically cause you problems. It causes mental and physical problems. That's why it's bad. Thank you. It's because of your videos I quit. That's nice to know. That's really nice to know. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. Gonna miss your reminders when TikTok gets banned. Well, why don't you follow me on a different app? Blue Sky, Clapper, YouTube. I'll be out there. Just gotta find me. I'll be out there. Andy Rogue, it's that long ago I wouldn't know why it started. Now it's a crutch. Andy, if you want to schedule something with me, I would almost guarantee you within an hour we could figure out where it came from, why it started. It's, as I said to someone earlier, I don't know if you were here, a lot of this is about being in the, mental and physical eye of the storm. Everything is calm where you are, so you don't recognize what has been going on. But as somebody who had trauma and learned how to find it, as somebody who has been trained as a trauma coach, I can help you get there. It's a crutch because something happened, but the body also tries to take care of you. The brain tries to take care of you. Whatever caused this, whatever started it, the brain may be trying to keep that repressed. The brain may recognize if whatever the trauma was that caused you to get to this place is remembered, you're going to be in for a rough ride. But you're going to be in even for a rougher ride if you don't deal with it. So, Andy, I would urge you to try to deal with it. How so? Could you go into more detail? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's bad because it's going to skew your view of sexuality. It's bad because you're screwing with your brain chemicals, which isn't healthy. It's bad because it gives unrealistic and unhealthy views of sexuality. It's bad because when you become addicted, there's a whole host of sexual issues that come along with it. It's bad because it should not be the sex ed for so many young people it is today. It's bad because if you just look at any of the charts or any of the statistics, it is creating an unhealthy sexual society. And that's going to be rough. That's going to be rough. Hey, Truth Seeker, are the mental and physiological problems reversible? Absolutely. It takes time, though. You know, I don't know how long it's taken you to become an addict, but it takes a while to undo it, too. You know, so many people, what's the quickest way for me to not be an addict anymore? You're not ready. You're not ready. It's not going to be quick. It's going to be a process, and it's not a fun, enjoyable process. I mean, there are a lot of days it doesn't suck, and you do learn a lot about yourself. I really enjoyed that part of it. But there are times where you have to talk about sad things, where you have to talk about things that have angered you, frustrated you, things you didn't have control over, times that your life was not one of justice but injustice. But it is all reversible if you stick with it. You can't go 2 weeks not using porn and then feel like you're fine, because your brain patterns have not even changed at that point. You can't go a month and expect that, you know, the trauma that you dealt with, even if you're talking to me, has completely cleared. It's a process to get healthy, just like it was a process to get sick. What's your YouTube channel? It is youtube.com/the@ and that corn coach. And like I said, check out, while there's still time, check out my video from before, a few days old, of where you can follow me. And then I would urge you to go and set up accounts at Blue Sky, at Clapper, at YouTube. Follow me on those places so we can continue with this. Do you have Instagram? Hey, Daniel. Thank you for what you're doing, brother. That's okay. Yay. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share education. And obviously, if anybody here does need some one-on-one help, I speak in generalities here, but if anybody needs one-on-one help, please come, talk to me. We will have a session that is just about you, and you can learn about my sessions. If you go to the front page of the profile, click on the links at the top, click on the one that says Calendly. So yeah, I if I knew how to type in here, I mean, maybe I can. Can I pin something? Pin this I have to pin other people's comments. Shit. Okay. Maybe sometime Auth is in here. I'll do that. But yeah, please check out that video. It's only a couple days old. Maybe I'll repost it. It talks about where I will be if TikTok disappears. But no, I don't have Instagram, Daniel. I have in the past. It just doesn't work for me. Thank you, Dang Fricker. I appreciate that. It is basically just youtube.com/the@ and then the words, all one word, that corn coach. So youtube.com/the@ that corn coach. I'd appreciate that, Dang Fricker. Thank you. And that is where I will start up with the lives. I may try lives on Clapper. I don't know. I've already got about 3,000 followers there. But I plan on YouTube first. And with my YouTube, thank you for all the likes, by the way, Sandra. I am noticing that. And please click click up the likes. I would appreciate that from everybody. If I say something cool, share it. If you're not following me, please do. But no, I stopped Instagram a long time ago, Daniel. It was a waste of my time. It wasn't helping the business. And I try only to do social media that can dovetail off of doing this business. When you have the urge, what else should you do it over? I don't know what you mean. If you have the urge to look at porn and masturbate, you should go do something else. Go hang around people. You won't look if you're hanging around people. Go for a walk. Do something else. Do something else. If you're asking, how do I get as big of a chemical jolt? Well, you're not supposed to get the chemical jolt that you get from the porn addiction, or really any other addiction, or getting drunk, or whatever it is. You're not supposed to be able to access your brain chemicals that way. It's a hack. It's a cheat. What you need to do is you need to learn to manage your emotions. You need to learn to develop discipline. You need to learn to develop willpower. You need to learn to develop problem-solving skills so you can figure out how to fix the problem. Like I was telling people earlier, I don't know if any of you were here, but this morning I set my alarm incorrectly on my phone. Haven't done that in years. I was supposed to wake up at 5 o'clock to bring my son to the airport. Slept right through it. Boy, did that piss me off. In the past, I would have used porn. In the past, I would have drank when something like this happens. Wouldn't have solved anything, but that's what I would have done. And how do I deal with this mistake? Well, I can't really deal with this mistake. All I can do is try to fix it. The way to solve this error is to put him on the same flight tomorrow and to pay the change fee. I screwed up. I have to pay this fee. There's no way around it. I can't drink my way around it. I can't masturbate or look at porn my way around this problem. I have to pay the change fee on the flight, and I have to get up tomorrow morning and bring him to the airport because I screwed up with my alarm. You need to deal with the world's problems on the world's terms. You can't escape. You can't go to a fantasy place. You can't go to a place that's going to make you feel powerful or in control because it's not real life. Porn is not real life. It's not a problem-solving technique. It's a place to go hide. And instead of hiding from the world's problems, you need to develop ways to deal with them. Okay, so if you're saying that you have to find the trauma to solve the problem, yes, Daniel, because addiction is a symptom of the problem. Your main problem is not that you use porn. The main problem is why you use porn. It's pretty easy to get people to stop or slow down quite a bit. If you're serious about this, with my coaching, you can be using, 50 to 75% less within a month, if not more, depending on how focused you are. But just stopping that doesn't change your history. Just stopping that doesn't change your brain chemistry. You need to figure out what happened. You need to figure out, why do you use porn so much? Why has it been with you for so long? Why is this your main coping mechanism? What happened when you were young? Why did you develop this as your way of dealing with problems? This is all related to the trauma. The addiction is just a symptom of the trauma. No porn addiction since mid-24? Well, that's at least 6 months. Good for you, man. Good for you. Be constructive, write, exercise, beautiful thoughts. I'm not an exercise guy, but I write all the time. That helped me so much in my early recovery. I wrote 4 books that you can go buy. Writing was huge for me. Maybe exercising is huge for you. Exercising restraint since late 24. You should have that as like a bumper sticker. Is that a hamster in the background? No, I have a mama cat and I have 4 babies running around this room. I regularly foster animals, cats and dogs. And I am currently fostering 4 kittens and a mommy. Hold on a sec. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. This is one of my little babies. He's actually the biggest one. I believe that they are approaching 7 weeks. And I'll tell you, this makes me feel so much more healthy. When I sit on the floor and I've got 4 kittens crawling all over me, when I sit on the floor and I've got 4 kittens crawling all over me, you know how much dopamine that causes? You know how much serotonin? You know how much oxytocin this causes? Having these little buggers here who just want to love you, who just want you to take care of them, and you get to see them develop. This guy is starting to drink water out of a bowl. That may not seem like a big deal, but when you get these kittens at 2-3 weeks and they either only eat off their mama, which these guys do, or if they don't come with a mama, you have to bottle feed them 4 or 5 times a day. That may sound like it sucks, and I thought the first time it would suck, but taking care of these little guys, this absolutely touches my soul. Taking care of these little guys absolutely is a great help for my mental health. When people talk about, okay, so what do I do now? What do I do instead? How do I change things? I never back in the day would have fostered pets. Ever. Never would have done this. But my wife kind of brought some home to foster one day. And I just fell in love with the process. It's trying new things. It's trying new things and seeing what makes you feel good. I'll tell you, working out doesn't do it for me. I don't like exercise. I do it, but I don't like it. This, say hi to all the people. Doing this makes me feel so much better. Andy says, we have 2. I'm going to let you on the floor now. Say goodbye to the folks. Bye-bye. That is one of those things. What do I do instead? You do something that makes you feel good. Sitting on a floor with, 3, 4, 5 kittens makes me feel good. Sitting on a floor with 1 or 2 puppies makes me feel good. I have 6 cats and 4 dogs. These are just temporary. So pets absolutely have helped me. They may not help you, but it's something to care for. It's something to take care of. It's something to put above yourself. These are all skills you're going to need in healing. That's cool. That's cool, Andy. Naughty, yeah. 4 of our dogs, 3 of them are pretty naughty. Tic Tac asks, may I confess? Sure, go ahead. Smelly Bacon says, pay me and I'll quit corn forever, no problem. I don't see the incentive for me in that, Smelly Bacon. You should want to quit porn forever just for your own health. KRNB says, I seen you somewhere before, maybe on here. I've been doing this stuff for 3-4 years, but it's interesting you say that because I usually have much longer hair and I usually have a full beard. I shaved at Christmas for my wife, and I've shaved 1 other time since then. I haven't been beardless for years, so you might be actually thinking about someone else. But hey, maybe you have seen me somewhere before. Superior Virtue, what do I do when I get the urge to watch porn? Do something else. Do something else. And have that list ready. Wow, 5.9 thousand likes. Thank you. Please keep tapping them up. I know Sandra is the recipient of most of them. So what do I do when I get the urge to watch porn? You do something else. And right now, while you're not watching porn, get a piece of paper, write down 10 things you can do. That way, when you get the urge, that way, when you get the trigger, you're not like, oh, I can't stop. Have a list of things you can do. Go for a walk, fly a kite, watch TV, go to the mall with your grandfather. Make a sandwich. You can literally do anything else. You can literally do anything else. And if you can't think of what else to do in the moment, prepare now. Because you know those urges are coming. You know those triggers are coming. So prepare now. Again, hello, Carol. Hope you're having a good weekend. I hope you don't have too much snow down there. How does your wife feel about all this? My wife is very proud of what I've done as far as my personal growth, as far as my personal recovery. I think she's very proud of me. I think she sees me as a much better human being than I was when I first got into recovery after 2 decades of addiction. I got into recovery almost 11 years ago. As far as writing the books, as far as doing the TikTok stuff, as far as doing the coaching stuff, she is supportive of all of it. She just does not want to be part of it as far as like the sharing her story. I have had so many podcasts ask if we would both go on at the same time, and she simply is not interested in making this a public situation for her. She thankfully did not have as much betrayal trauma as many of the women that I deal with. I think it's because she works in healthcare. She knows about addiction. She had a cousin who had an issue with addiction in the past. But, she was affected, but she doesn't want to become a public figure associated with it. So she's all for me doing what I need to do. She's all for me helping people. But she does not want to be a public face of this, which I totally appreciate. Had it bad for 5 years, stopped 3 months ago. Good for you, No Bob. Good for you. What do you find is working for you? I'm curious. I seen at Walmart before it was around the holiday time. Okay. I probably didn't go to Walmart, but okay. If you saw me, cool. Angel, it says you'll lose your subscription benefits soon. I don't know what benefits you're getting, but we don't want to do that. Lee Evans says, you're lucky to have her, dude. I totally am. Lucky to have her. So many of my clients, and if you're a lady and you find, or a man, and you find out your partner's using porn, it is totally your right to run away, to not want to be in a relationship, to not want to deal with them. Totally your right. It's also your right to stick around and try to help that person. It's also your right to, stick around and yell at that person. Probably won't help anything, but ultimately my wife did what was best for me, which was basically, she didn't give an ultimatum, but there was a pretty clear boundary of you need to address your addictions to pornography and to alcohol. You need to heal if you expect us to heal the marriage. So I began that process. And she stood by my side because I held up my end of the bargain, thankfully. And as she saw me get into this work, she saw that I was getting better. I was taking this seriously. She needed to know that she could count on me as a husband, and she could count on me to be a good father. That's what I had to do, and that's the direction I went in, because there is no addiction that is more important than her or my kids. None. Dealing with a porn addiction is much harder single. Have you done it in a relationship? Have you done it single? Can you really? I'm not picking on you, Lee. All I'm saying is that so many people like to, and maybe you're not even doing this, but so many people, and I saw this first in the first rehab I went to. So many people like to say that their situation and their addiction is the worst. I remember when some very, very hardcore drug users in my rehab were talking about how, who cares that you're addicted to alcohol? That's easy. You don't have these really hard problems. And it's like, you can't go to the grocery store and get your drugs. You don't go to dinner with somebody and they bring you a menu full of your drugs. However, there is a liquor aisle at the grocery store. There is a wine menu at every decent restaurant. I can't go into 7-Eleven or AM/PM or any of these convenience stores and not see a huge amount of alcohol. Temptation is there for me everywhere. Does that mean my addiction is better or worse? It doesn't matter. Obviously, my alcohol addiction is worse for me than your harder drug addiction is worse for you, because I don't have that addiction. But I don't think this is comparing apples to apples at all. Whatever you're struggling with is your issue. I can go to a casino and gamble for a few hours and walk away and not go back for 6 months. Just part of the deal. I don't have that gambling addiction gene. Now, if somebody says gambling addiction is the toughest one, I would say, well, it's easy for me to go to a casino and walk away. I don't have that. But if that's the thing, I'd say, well, it's easy for me to go to a casino and walk away. I don't have that. But if that's the thing, I'd say, well, it's easy for me to go to a casino and walk away. I don't have that. But if that's the thing that you're afflicted with, it's not going to be easy. What happened here? I froze. I've never seen that. Okay, here we go. Did I freeze? That was weird. I've never seen myself freeze on my end. Did I just freeze for you guys? Literally, I just stopped freezing. Or did I keep talking? Could you hear me? Blah, blah, blah. Did you meet her in the middle of it or later or what? No, I met her in the middle of it. I became a porn addict at 12 years old. I met her when I was 26. And it was another 11 years before I got clean. So I met her in the middle of it. And those facts are often how I convince a partner of a porn addict who's dealing with the betrayal trauma that it has nothing to do with them. It had nothing, my porn addiction had nothing to do with my wife. How could it? I was an addict for 14 years before I met her. How is she contributing it to it? We're all addicts before we meet our partners. Unless you meet your partner in nursery school and grow up together. But yeah, I am very lucky to have her, and she did meet me meet me during the middle of it, and it was still a few years before sadly it wasn't a few, it was 10 years of us being married before I got my act together. That's a good why. Thanks, Andy. And that's the thing, is that you have to come up with your own why. If you're not with somebody, then doing it for your partner obviously isn't a choice. Maybe you're afraid that you'll never get a partner, so that's a good reason. Maybe you're worried about your mental health. Maybe you're worried about your physical health. Maybe you're using in places that you shouldn't. Work, friend's house, restaurant, whatever it is, not places you should be using. But maybe that urge is too much. Whatever your reason is, it's your reason. And I have never seen two people heal the same way, ever. I always urge people, try as many modalities as possible. Try a therapy appointment. Come see me as a coach. Go to a 12-step group. Read a book. Watch videos. Whatever makes you heal is what you need. Some people don't need therapy or coaching. Some people, that's the number one thing they need. How are you going to find out? You need to try everything and then create a formula or a recipe that works for you. What made you face up to this problem? Great question, Andy. Ultimately, my life was going to shit. And like I said, I was in my 24th year of being a porn addict. I was in my 22nd year of being an alcoholic. There was a lot of stress in my life. I can give you 7 or 8 things that were happening in my life, but basically a perfect storm started. And what made me face up to the problem was I had a moment of clarity during an intervention shortly after I was fired from my job. Despite owning a third of the company, the other 2/3 owners fired me because I ran operations day to day. After getting fired and recognizing that I had probably destroyed that avenue of my life for employment, recognizing during the intervention that my wife was probably just weeks away from leaving me if I didn't take care of things, recognizing that my life was never going to be the same. I could not manipulate people. I could not use people. I could not lie, cheat, and steal my way to whatever I needed. That was over. My life was going to change radically. So I could change it in one of 2 directions. I could quit the porn and the alcohol, and I could form new bonds with the people who had stood by me. I could become the husband I wanted. I knew I sucked. I could become the father I wanted. Again, I knew I sucked. I was not a good son. I was not a good brother. I was not a good friend. So I could rebuild these relationships and rebuild my life without the porn and the alcohol, or I could go away, continue to be an addict. It didn't seem like a tough choice for me. I just needed to face up to it, you know. Lee says, single in a relationship, but no, you're making a good point. I feel you, brother. Thank you. I just think when you have a woman right there in front of you, then it's a little easier, but excuses are like you know what. They're like assholes. We all have one. I think it probably depends on who the woman is. You know, I'm sure some, or men. You know, I have female addicts who I work with, and I can tell you it's just as important that they have a quality partner as it is for the men. Your partner is your partner, whether you're gay, straight, whether you're a guy or a girl, your partner is your partner. So some would make it easier, some would make it more difficult. But ultimately, you also do have to do the work for yourself. While I can say my wife and my kids were absolutely the biggest motivation for me to change, I did have to do it on my own. You know, I had help from my coaches, from my therapists, but I still have to do most of the heavy lifting on my own. Yes, you froze. Yeah, video froze. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I don't know what happened there. Sometimes I get up in the corner where it says, I don't know if you see this, but it says good connection. Sometimes it, says, I remember what it's, buffering connection or no connection, and I know something's wrong there, but it didn't do that this time. I'm going to take a sip of my beverage. I'm going to reintroduce myself. Many of you have already heard this. I apologize. But there was a time where you heard this for the first time. You can feel free to sing along. But please, as I am introducing myself, tap up some likes. Let's get to 10,000 by the time I'm done this spiel. Easy enough. So just tap on the screen, please. Share it if you think it's worthwhile. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be on Earth. It's nice to see you. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was a alcoholic for 22 years. I thankfully have been clean and sober for the last almost 11 years. In March, it'll be 11 years. During that time, I have been completely relapse free and have not used alcohol or pornography. About 8 years ago, I got into this line of work, first as an author and as a presenter, meaning that I went on podcasts or TV shows or radio shows. I went to schools and churches and libraries and that kind of stuff and gave speeches on this stuff. When the pandemic hit, I had to change gears, so I became a accredited coach, helping people with pornography addiction, helping people with betrayal trauma, and helping people as a therapeutic disclosure specialist. What that means is that I can help the addict, I can help the partner, and I can help the relationship as a whole. Oh my God, nobody clicking up the likes. I'll just have you know one thing, people. When this is done, I get to see who left the likes. And I got to tell you, a lot of people who are here all the time never hit the screen. It's sad. It's frustrating. Yeah. I don't make a dime off you hitting likes. The thing that, if you hit a lot of likes, I can tell you, having been doing this for the last few years, more people show up in the room. And when more people show up in the room, that's the chance for more people to learn about this. It's also the chance for people to learn how to get help, to understand that I can help them in one-on-one sessions. Probably one of the reasons I'm a little bit worried about. Thank you, Adeline, for sharing this. Thank you. Very cool. 10.4 thousand likes. That's very cool too. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you very much. But one of the reasons I'm really worried about TikTok going away is that I meet 80 to 85% of my clients through TikTok. That's why, I keep telling people, follow my YouTube, follow my Clapper, follow the Blue Sky. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know what's going to happen. And I will try going live on YouTube if anything happens here. But hey, you guys got me to 11,000 during my little speech. So you guys are pretty freaking awesome. Thank you very much. You guys rule. Thank you, Adeline Moore UK, for sharing this. If you are in the UK, I appreciate you for tuning in kind of late. But that's one of the reasons that I did this in the middle of the afternoon, so some of my friends in Western Europe could see this. And I have many clients in Western Europe, which is cool too. I actually have clients over 8 different time zones. And if you want to become a client, if you're interested in learning more about how to become a client, whether you are dealing with your partner using porn, it's causing trauma and betrayal, whether you are the addict or whether you need to sit with your partner, addict or betrayed, and work on the relationship, I can do that with you. Visit the front page of my profile. Up in the links, one of them says Calendly. Click on that and you'll learn how to do this. XLR8 Pulse, is it actually getting banned? As things stand at the moment, it will be banned on the 19th. Now, what does that ban mean? Some people say it just means it won't be available in the App Store or Google Play to continue distributing it. But those of us who already have it will be able to use it. Some people say it's going to be turned off completely. I don't know. Trump becomes president the next day. He has said that he wants to keep TikTok going. So will it be down one day? We just don't know, and I wish I will give you answers as I get them because I'm following this closely, but it's kind of scary with 1 week left until this disappears. Potentially, we don't have a lot of answers. That's why I'm trying to set up on other apps. And that's why I hope you'll follow me on other apps as well. I did make a video a couple days ago. I'll probably repost it about where I'll be. Exposing anti-corn lies. Oh, so you are a pro-porn person. Corn isn't recognized by the DSM-5 as an addiction. That's true. You're absolutely correct. But here's why it's not there yet. Because it takes time. They need to do more research. They need to do more research. Now, here's the thing. You can dry hump the DSM-5. Now, the DSM-5 stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. This is what American therapists, psychiatrists are supposed to be following, are supposed to be learning about. Or this is where they get their information to diagnose people. Now, here's the thing. If you look at the last two, I think they've had 2 updates to the DSM since I got out of high school. We're talking 2 updates in the last 25 years. The DSM perhaps used to be a useful tool, but you talk to a bunch of therapists exposing anti-corn lies and ask them what they really think about the DSM. They'll laugh. Most of them prefer the World Health Organization's, ICL? Is that what it's called? I'm sorry. ICL, which is basically the same thing as the DSM. In the World Health Organization does recognize sexual impulse disorder as a diagnosable condition. That is the first step towards getting pornography addiction recognized. And I wish I knew it, the International, God, I wish, they're out of Vancouver. They're basically about addiction concerns. They do recognize porn addiction. So if you only want to look at the DSM, sure, it's not an addiction. Sure. But here's the thing. DSM-5 does have gambling addiction in there, but most practitioners will not label someone as a gambling addict. Why? Because insurance won't cover it. It's the insurance companies who run things, not the therapists, not the books. It's the insurance companies who run things. I'll also share with you that AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, was created, I think, in either the late 20s or early 30s by a guy named Dr. Bob and a guy named Bill W. Not his name, but that's the point of the Anonymous. They formed this Alcoholics Anonymous group in the late 20s, early 30s. It wasn't until the 1970s that the DSM included alcohol use disorder as a diagnosable condition. So that means that if you would have been here 70 years ago exposing anti-corn lies, you would have been telling us that alcoholism isn't a real disease. Alcoholism isn't a real thing because the DSM doesn't say it is. Those of us who have had pornography addiction, those of us who have lived with porn addicts, we know the truth. We know the truth. Studying it for 20 years, big friggin' deal. Most people weren't studying this for years. And there's been, sadly, a lack of studying in the last 5-6 years. I think a lot of that has to come to the pandemic. And like I said, it took them damn near 50 years. Even though people knew they were alcoholics, it took them damn near 50 years to include it. They're going to cover all their bases. But those of us who have pornography addiction, we know it's real. And I guess exposing anti-corn lies, what I can say to you is that I hope you are able to remain this ignorant, because that means you'll never find the truth. That means you'll never find the truth. As for having withdrawals or not, you're incorrect. No withdrawals means no addiction. You do not understand addiction, my friends, so I'm probably going to stop arguing with you. I would urge you to go check out a lot of the information out there. I'm also just going to, he's not here anymore, she's not here anymore. I'm just going to get rid of them because I don't need them triggering anybody. There is nothing more pretentious than some dipshit like that say it's not real because this group of smart people say it's not real. Well, fuck them. I was a porn addict 24 years. I don't need some unknown guy in a freaking lab coat hiding someplace telling me what's going on with me. I know what my porn addiction was like. And this guy clearly is not researching it. If you think addiction is only an addiction because of withdrawal, well, what if I'm an alcoholic and I never fix it? What if I, have a drug problem and I never fix it? Does that mean it was never an addiction because I never went through withdrawals? You have to be able to separate the bullshit from the real information out there. And if you think I'm bullshit, that's fine. Go find somebody else. I'm not going to get hurt that badly. A lot of people like to feel superior. A lot of people like to hide behind a level of education when they don't have the practical experience, when they don't know what they're talking about. And you know what? We don't need those people here. I know the First Amendment rights are huge, but this is my page. And thank you, David. David Davis, thank you for bringing up some very good points. It is politics. What that guy's talking about is not relevant because he's never been there. And that's okay. That's okay. Just because you have an education doesn't mean you're not a troll. Why would somebody want to come into a place where people are being helped and say the way you're helping doesn't work? What you guys are all suffering from isn't real. What kind of an asshole move is that? Josh says, I don't have a strong enough reason to quit. Well, I'm going to guess that's because you don't want to quit. And that's okay. You're not there yet. You don't want to quit. You should continue to educate yourself until you're scared enough by the potential, outcome. What about the fact that you keep using porn? There's a very good chance you start to get erectile dysfunction. There's a very good chance you cannot perform in bed. If that's not a big enough reason, that's fine, but there are plenty of reasons out there. You just have to find your reason. Those who don't recognize it as an addiction, it's an impulse. And again, thank you, Adeline. It just doesn't really matter. Yeah, I like that, David. I like that. Neither does screen time, but that's an addiction. Exactly. Exactly. AA doesn't work, though. Well, Adeline, it doesn't work for most people. That's absolutely true. It doesn't work for most people, but it does work for a minority. I was in AA for about 9 months when I was getting into recovery. It helped in the beginning because I got to hear a lot of people's stories. That made me feel good, made me feel not so alone. There were some tenets of the 12 steps and some tenets of AA I liked. It was reassuring to see the same people coming back to the same rooms, knowing that they could handle this and seeing people who could. But ultimately, 12-step groups were not the right way for me either. I was not going to maintain my sobriety long time only using AA or SAA or any 12-step group. That said, I did see people who had been there 20 years, who hadn't used. And it seems like it helped them. Now, I have problems with those. They don't talk about trauma. They don't talk about origin stories. They seem to be about white knuckling. A lot of people who are in AA and some of those other groups, to me, don't seem like they've recovered. Seem like they're just white knuckling every day trying to not use. That was not the life I wanted to have, so I ended up leaving. Didn't work for me, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that anybody with any addiction should try a 12-step group. They should try a non-12-step group too. There are things like Smart Recovery and other, groups, men's groups, women's groups, whatever it may be, that are not related to any kind of spirituality that are out there. I think you should try everything at least once to figure out what clicks for you. Yeah, that was winding me up. Thanks for admitting that, Andy. I like that. I don't have a strong enough reason to quit. I just addressed that. Wow, I've gone 90 minutes. No wonder I'm getting tired in here. How can I balance my dopamine? Well, you stop faking it. You stop hacking into it. You let it happen through normal reasons. Exercise, hanging out with friends, doing fun things. You do not try to hack it. You can't be a porn addict and balance your dopamine. You can't be a gambling addict, a video game addict, a drug addict, and balance your dopamine. You have to quit the addiction first. And over time, physically, you will heal. That takes time. Mentally, that's where I do most of my work with clients. We also work on the trauma. So you don't need that dopamine. That's really what the problem is. The problem is that you have taught yourself, you have taught your brain has taught your body, you need dopamine, you need oxytocin, you need serotonin, you need endorphins, you need all these things in mass amounts to keep going. So you create it in a unnatural way. And then you get hooked on it. So first thing you need to do is start to eliminate any. Thank you for the flower logos. Thank you for so many flowers logos. You're the title gifter now, whatever the hell that means. 10 flowers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Every little bit certainly helps. But yeah, if you're going to balance your dopamine, you're going to not be an addict. Logos. Oh, cool. I'm getting some of those snowflakes. Wow. 13, 15, 17, 18. You are cool, Logos. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Every little bit helps. Last month I made $32 on TikTok. I know there are people who make that in 5 minutes here, but literally every little bit helps. I make about half the money I made back in my old life. But I know this is much more important. This is what I was called to do, even if I have to beg people to give me stars and snowflakes and flowers. The worst part is that it is immoral, not the physical unhealthiness. Well, David, I guess that depends on how you define it. I don't want to tell somebody who doesn't see it as a moral issue that if you don't see it as a moral issue, you're fine. You're not an addict. Everybody defines what's wrong with it on their own terms. Whether you are religious or atheist, no matter what your color is, no matter what your politics are, no matter if you're a man or a woman, you have to determine what it is for yourself. I don't make a lot of moral judgments in what I do because I'm not going to tell you that your value system should be mine. We have different value systems. We grew up differently. We have different backgrounds. What we need to focus on is the commonality of the disease. Because porn addiction is a disease. It's a disease because it changes your brain's chemistry. But the immorality of it, and I do have my opinions on that, but I just, I don't make them my cause. The immorality of it, if that's going to be the thing that is motivating you, that is driving the engine towards recovery, that's fine with me. Like I said, I've never seen two people heal the same. So whatever you need to do, do it. Moon-shaped Romeo. Ever since I learned about ED, I started experiencing it. Isn't it funny the way the brain works? You are not the first person who has told me that. Once I learned about ED, once I learned about porn-induced erectile dysfunction, the next time I tried to use, I couldn't get hard. A little bit of knowledge can go a long way. And you're right, it's purely psychological. That's because addiction is a physical problem, but it's also a mental problem. It's absolutely a mental problem. Absolutely a physical problem. You need to heal both. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Is corn safe as long as edging isn't involved? No. No. I mean, don't edge because that's worse. But anytime you are using a hack to get at those chemicals in your brain, it isn't healthy. You don't want those toxic amount of chemicals running through your brain at any time, because that will move you closer to addiction if you're not already there. But we know that even the person who uses twice a month, while they may not have addictive traits, while they may be able to live a normal life, those 2 times of using still are not healthy for the brain. Because, and you know, the thing is, and I can't wait to say your name, the thing is, Big Wiener Goblin 69. That's a lot of offense in one name. I like that. Big Wiener Goblin 69. The addiction is not just happening. The flood of chemicals is not just happening when you ejaculate. It's happening the entire time. From the moment you get an urge, it is there. You're getting that flow of dopamine. So, yeah, I mean, basically, edging is masturbating for a long time. Gooning is that on steroids. But just using, no, it's not healthy. It's like saying if I go out and I have, I have 5 beers instead of 5 shots, is it healthier? Yes, but it's still not healthy. Big Wiener Goblin, thank you for following me. Does God unalive a cat every time I do myself? I hope not, Joey. I hope not. I sure hope not. I hope a cat gets adopted every time I do a live. I would show you all the kitties I have running around here, but they're sleeping with Mama right now. And again, want to thank those of you who were giving me gifts there. Logos, appreciate that. Thank you for all of those. Those were very, very kind. That was very, very kind of you. The roses and the snowflake keychains. Logos 33. Thanks for help, bro. I really don't need dopamine. Well said. Well, we need dopamine, and we can't stop creating dopamine. It's one of those things like testosterone. It's one of those things like, what else does I'm blanking here, but we need to produce it. We can't stop producing it, but you don't want to produce it in the amount that is produced with pornography. Please keep tapping up those likes. Please, please, please. Tap those likes. Please, please, please tap those likes. Tappity tap tap. We're at 11,000. Let's see if we can get to 12 before I quit. Amin, nice to see you. It helps a lot to see you on the timeline on an app full of a lot of mind garbage. No kidding. One of the things I've actually been thinking about doing if TikTok goes away, I've actually thought about starting an OnlyFans page that is anti-pornography. One of the reasons, I started on TikTok a year later than I planned. Or I didn't plan it. I started on TikTok a year later than I first thought of it because I didn't want to be part of this culture. I didn't want to be part of what I thought was a cesspool. And then someone pointed out to me, those are the people who need your help the most. And my business exploded when I got on TikTok 4 years ago. Exploded. Well, where are people who need porn help? OnlyFans. That would be a good place to go, wouldn't it? Still figuring it out. But I'm glad seeing me on the timeline helps. And again, please go check out that video I made the other day of where you can find me off of TikTok, YouTube, Clapper, Blue Sky, Lemonade, There are multiple different places that you'll be able to find me. Did you counsel Jeffrey Toobin? That is a hell of a reference, Joey. Nobody has ever asked me something like that. And I appreciate that reference. That's pretty good. Did it end your marriage? No, thankfully it didn't. Thankfully it did not. I'm still married today. I have been married this June will be 22 years, and another year and a half, 2 years for the relationship on top of that. So no, it didn't. It doesn't have to. I am at about 2 weeks clean. Good for you, Zach. Tried quitting endless times. Any tips, brother? Well, as far as continuing to try to quit, check if you're still having urges. Try to see if there's a pattern to them. Do you get urges first thing in the morning, last thing at night? Have you mixed up your routines? Have you mixed up your patterns? Because that can very much help. When you get an urge, do you go try to be around people? I have found that to be the number one thing to stop an urge in the moment. If you're around somebody, you will not use. If you are around somebody, you will not look, hopefully. And I would also say if you need to get into the deeper questions, the mental health side of things of why did you become an addict in the first place? What happened? What trauma occurred? How has that trauma affected your life? When I work with clients, the biggest thing we do is just trace your life story. Figure out where things didn't go the way you wanted. Figure out how that changed your story. How did you get to be the person you are today? And if there are things aside from the corn addiction you need to change, we can work on that as well. Dealing with addiction is dealing with physical health and it's dealing with mental health. Bro, TikTok doesn't let me type anything. Well, it lets you type that, Kens. I only use SC, so imagine that's Snapchat. TikTok is so annoying, it just doesn't let me type anything. Well, are you trying to type words that they don't want you to type? You know, there are a lot of words that TikTok bans. And some of them are just flat out frustrating and they make no sense. And you can go online and search, banned terms. There are weird things on there. Like I think hairdressers is one of them. Certain body parts, there's a lot of things that are banned. They also have to ban certain terms around the world. So something that might be a swear word in the UK but is not in the US, or something that may be a swear word in the US but is not in the UK, gets banned both places because it's just easier. So I know that's frustrating, Kens. I absolutely know that's frustrating. Again, it's one of those things I have no control over. So I'm not going to let it bring me down. All I can do is work within the parameters that the gatekeepers have created. So that's the way that we do it. If anybody else has any questions, if anybody else has any comments, opinions, anything else, I'd love to hear them. I'm going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes. So get your last thoughts in. If you're not following me, please do. That'll let you have more direct access to my videos. That'll let you know when I'm going live. And again, please check out the video I posted the other day. I am going to repost it about where you can find me after this. I'm away to bed. Thanks, mate. Good night, Andy. It was nice having you here. I hope we'll get to talk again in the future. I assume you're in the UK, so thanks for staying up late with me. Been on it since 12. I'm 24 now. I get that, Zach, and I'm so happy that you're getting rid of it now. I started when I was 12. That's what I count. My first addictive year was 12 years old. I didn't do it for 30 till I was 36. So I was an addict 24 years. You're only halfway there. Don't match me. Don't catch up with me. Quit now. If I could go back and have a 24 to 36 be clean, oh my God, that would be awesome. My life would be so different. I hope it would be better. I mean, I really love what I do now. But if I could get rid of half of my addictive years, holy crap, I would do that in a second. So, couple weeks not using, 12 years in the past, please do whatever it takes, Zach. You're off to a good start. You can do it. QA Adams, 11 days clean. That is freaking amazing. That is awesome. Started it with a bang. Yeah, absolutely. Look at your 2025. That is awesome. I was 12 too. It's a common age. The average age that a boy sees pornography for the first time now is 10. The average age for a girl is 11. When I became an addict back in the late 80s, most boys didn't see porn for the first time till they were 14. Most girls didn't see it till they were 15. That's just in, 30 years how much everything has changed. And if I can help you, Zach, if I can help you, Q Adams, on your journey early on, please don't hesitate to hit me up. My sessions cost about a third, even less, than what a therapist costs. That's why you sometimes see therapists come in here and wave their finger at me, because I can help you for a third of the price. And you could literally have a session booked with me tomorrow. They don't like how fast I can see clients. Do you think they ever ban porn off the internet? I don't think they can. 100 years ago here in America, we tried to ban alcohol. That didn't even last 20 years because it was impossible. And that was just in America. 100 years ago, when transportation wasn't nearly as good, telecommunications weren't nearly as good, education wasn't nearly as good. And now with pornography, you're talking about an international issue. You're talking about technology that no one country can control. So, do I think they ever ban it? No. I hope they start to put some age restrictions in place. But porn would have to be made illegal first. Reddit is not just going to pull all its porn. They try to hide the fact they're the fourth biggest porn site in the world, but Reddit is not going to ban its pornography because it's the right thing to do, because they get too much money off of the advertising. And as I stated earlier, you might not have been here, the Supreme Court doesn't want to touch the question of pornography. That's why they don't rule things as pornographic. They rule things as obscene. And the level of something to rise to obscenity is very tough. Very, very tough. So why do I not fight the battle to ban porn? Because I think that's a losing battle. I think that we have a much better chance of dealing with pornography in this world if we educate about it. It's like guns. We could ban guns today, worldwide. How many millions and millions of guns are there out there? Even if we stopped making them, even if we, told everybody to throw away the ones they have, there would still be millions of guns. You cannot ban guns. You cannot act like there will never be guns again. Much like you can't do that with pornography. What happened when we tried prohibition 100 years ago? People started moonshining. People started making it themselves. And it became more dangerous that way. A lot of people don't know this, but NASCAR grew out of the bootlegging days because people had to create cars to outrun the cops, so they could bring their moonshine from one place to another. So they built souped up cars. Once prohibition ended, you had these people who, they had a hobby of building up cars. So NASCAR grew out of that. You know, it seems to me that energy could be spent so much better educating rather than trying to ban. Mr. 22113, did you used to watch it? Yes, I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was a porn addict for 24 years. And more than just watching it, I used it as a way to manage my emotions. I used it as a way to cope with the world's problems. The problem wasn't that I was seeing lots of boobs. The problem wasn't I was seeing lots of asses. The problem was my brain became addicted to the chemical reaction that happened when I did that. That's what it was ultimately about. And the thing that people have to recognize is that people who are addicted, it's not like they like body parts more than you. It's not like they like sex, watching sex more than you. It's that something happened along the way and they were able to, figure out when I use this, I feel better. The exact same brain chemistry is happening to someone who's a gambling addict, or someone who's a video game addict, or someone who's a food addict. It's the same thing happening. It's just you have a different means by which to get those chemicals going. That's one of the reasons that I don't get into morality when I'm talking about pornography addiction. Because any moral arguments you can apply to all of pornography. I'm not trying to save the person who looks once a month and talk about, their value system. I want the person who is addicted to this, who is addicted to the brain chemicals, who is held hostage by this stuff to get better. That's why I go the route that I do. Okay, I've been on here about 2 hours. I need to call it a day. But this was great. This made me work through my issue with missing my son's flight this morning and having to get up at crack of dawn, even before the crack of dawn tomorrow, to bring him to the airport again. So I appreciate having you all of there. If any of you do want to work with me one-on-one, visit the front page of my profile, look up in the links. There's one called Calendly. That will tell you how to book a session with me. As I said earlier, I'm about 1/3 the price of a therapist, and you can be booked with me within the next day or two. The disease of neuroplasticity. That's a great way of putting it, Simba Jr. That's a great way of putting it. Neuroplasticity is a wonderful thing, and it can be absolutely the worst thing. That, of course, is that your brain is going to rearrange the neurons, the neural pathways, to do what your body and your brain most needs. Unfortunately, when you become an addict, your brain and your body tell itself, you need this stuff. So the neuroplasticity changes your brain's chemistry, so you seek out porn more than the non-addict. That's the neuroplasticity. But it can go back the other way, too. So it is a double-edged sword, but great point, Simba, great point. Anywho, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you more than you can understand. And again, like I said, if you need any help, visit me on the front page. If you have any other questions, I'm not a tough guy to get a hold of. We'll see you real soon. Bye now. Bye now.